Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Prevention Action Alliance's legislative webinar. This is JP Dorval, and we have our Executive Director, Marcie Seidel, and also Nathan Kratz, our Communications Director. So now I guess Marcie can take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and happy December 11th to all of you. We're just 2 weeks out from Christmas now, and I don't know if anyone else is in a wild panic, but I am. But looking forward to a beautiful holiday season, and we wish all of you that as well. We have just a few things that we'd like to bring to your attention today. We are kind of taking a look back at the 132nd General Assembly, which is now coming to a close. Over this last 2 years, we have tracked 71 different bills in the state of Ohio that I feel have related to our field and certainly are things that I'm particularly interested in. And we watch them. We don't take obviously a stand on everything or want to testify for everything from Prevention Action Alliance point of view, but they are also what we call parties of interest, and that it's important for us to kind of follow these bills to find out what's happening in our world. And certainly, even though we may not take a stand on it, we know that each community is a little bit different, and it's important for you to be aware of what's going on, so that if it is a bill that you would like to be involved in or take a stand on or find out more information about, that you have that opportunity as well. And we support all of you in doing that. There's still lots of things going on, but the last that we heard is that the House and the Senate may be only doing their last session, probably December 19th, but I heard yesterday that it may in fact be over, even as of today, as far as the General Assembly session. So we'll see how it plays out, but we are down to the end with a very few bills that may be expected to pass out and go to the governor for signature. Some of the bills in the process of things that are not moving will either languish and die in the committee and may never be heard of again. There are others that will be picked up in the next General Assembly and reconstituted and will be moving forward, so that's a good possibility. So we'll keep an eye and a track on them when the first part of January comes. There'll be a lot of activity going on. The one that seems to be still hanging out there is the House Joint Resolution 19, which is now in the House Government Accountability and Oversight Committee. They will be looking at this bill on December 12th. Well, that's tomorrow. And it will be as you can see there, the room number of where it is if you're at all interested in it. What this is the initiative process, where when people are putting the opportunity to put language into our ballot to make it law. This limits that in a sense that it puts tighter constrictions on the process. One of the ways of doing that is making the people that are gathering signatures for the initiative to get those signatures in earlier than they have in the past. I think it's now in April rather than, I believe, it was July or August before. So they have to do it sooner. Before, when people started collecting signatures, once they collect signatures, those signatures were good forever. And now there's only 180 days, which they will be good. So they'll have to move the process along to do it. Then once, if they do make those thresholds and get it on the ballot, then they have to have a supermajority, or not just a simple majority, but a majority of 60% of the voting population on that particular voting day to pass it. And that makes a big difference in the ability to pass something. I believe Florida now does that, is doing that, and this is the promise of what this particular House Joint Resolution would do. They were very surprised. They wanted to move this through. When I say the legislators wanted to move it through very, very quickly, and thought that they were going to do it from the fact that it is now on its sixth hearing already and looking at all possible testimony and amendments and a vote on it when it was just introduced right after the last election in November. So they are putting it on fast track, but to their surprise, they're getting a great deal of pushback on this. And many, many grassroots organizations from around the state of Ohio are coming together to, in fact, there was one letter with 90 individuals on it, I believe, that came together and said, we don't believe in this, we don't want this to happen. There are many people coming from across the Ohio to testify against this thing. So it has slowed it down a little bit in that realm. So the reality is there's always two sides to an issue, and there's certainly two sides to this issue. From where I sit in this in the world of looking at legislation and changing of drug and possession laws and things like that, this one is where a lot of people who are proponents of loosening those laws use this as their mechanism to do that. So I want to make it a little bit harder for those that have lots of money and a lot of clout that can basically buy the process. And we know this from the last few ballot initiatives. They come in from out of state to do that. So I'm looking at it as something that needs to be done so that we do legislation that I think is a little bit more true to the what's solid legislation and the ability to appropriately edit it or change it when needed. But there's, like I said, many grassroots organizations that totally disagree with that process. Many grassroots believe that if they start the process and do it, even though they can't pass it, they've caught the attention of the legislators, and it will allow them to take a look with a little bit a different lens on how to view that legislation. So I would encourage you, if you're all interested in it, to kind of follow this and see what happens. I suspect, and I'm only suspecting, that nothing really will happen this General Assembly, since we're at the end, and I'm not even sure we have people come in that will vote on it. But it will very truly probably be taken up again after the first of the year. House Bill 341. This it actually flows into the conversation we just had about the ballot initiatives or the initiatives, because the ballot initiative issue 1 that was on the ballot last November, or just last month, was an intent to try to reform laws and sentencing laws around drug issues, and it brought the attention to legislators, just as we talked about a moment ago, and they are now looking to figure out what they need to do to make the laws more agreeable to where we are in society right now. We know that there are people who truly deserve to be behind bars because they're ill intent and really are not having a drug addiction problem, but are there to make their money on the drugs and to, cause people harm. But then there's certainly a lot of people, and many, many, many people, that are driven by their disease. And those that are driven by their disease, we need to take a different approach to, and they're basically looking at doing it. The primary sponsors are the President of the Senate, Obhoff, and then Senator Eklund are driving this and looking at it. It is basically a bill that is about 2 sentences long, and what they're doing at this point in time is gathering testimony, which has been invited testimony to this point, to help them frame the issue and find out what we need to do. And actually, JP has spent some time researching this, and I'm going to throw the conversation to him and let him fill you in with a little bit more detail.
Hello, everyone. This is J.P. Dorval speaking. Yeah, Senate Bill 341 is quite interesting. First off, having Senator Obhoff sponsor this bill really gives it some gravitas in terms of General Assembly priorities. And also, Senator Eklund passed a criminal justice bill, Senate Bill 66, earlier this General Assembly. He teamed up with Senator Tavares to pass that bill. So this is also in line with legislation that he's passed, and he's really an expert on criminal justice happenings. As of right now, the bill really has no language. So far, they've only had one testimony, and they are slotted to have another testimony on it tomorrow. And they've only had testimony for invited stakeholders as of right now, and we are still waiting to see whether they will open up to the general public. So we're keeping a close eye on that. But so far, it's only been invited testimony. And really, this is just President Ophoff's way to say to the public that this will be a priority. They don't have anything hashed out. They have a few ideas as to what they want to see in the bill based off of recommendations from some Franklin County prosecutors and some the Judges Association. But as of right now, there really isn't anything set in stone. So this is really something that we will be keeping a close eye on next General Assembly. But it shows, once again, the power of the ballot initiative process. And Ophoff, as Marcie stated, is really against the influence of big outside donors essentially selling parts of the Ohio Constitution. So this is definitely one way for him to take something that was clearly of interest to the public and put it through the legislative process. And hopefully we can get something better than the proposal that was in issue 1 from this piece of legislation. So once again, at the end of every General Assembly, all bills that weren't passed are reset. So this will definitely have a new bill number. It may originate in the House, it may originate in the Senate. So just expect this bill to be numbered either Senate Bill 1 through 10 or House Bill 1 through 10. But as of right now, we're just keeping a close eye on this.
Thank you, JP. The other thing that we kind of wanted to bring to your attention is that we're learning across the states that have legalized marijuana that there's starting to be noting that there's starting to be a rapid decline in marijuana prices post-legalization. And I'm supposing this is not a surprise to anybody as you take a look at the free market process, that the more product that there is or the more there is of something, probably the lower the prices get. The scarcer the product, the higher the prices will get. So this is pretty much a normal phenomenon. We're finding out right now that 25% of the U.S. population now lives in states that have passed ballot initiatives or allows businesses to sell or produce cannabis. The new Gallup poll is showing that 2 out of 3 Americans support the legalization of cannabis. And we're suspecting that this kind of pressure will be played out at the federal level at some point in time, where they may make a decision about the legalization of marijuana. And other states will tend to follow suit when they see kind of the rolling of how different things are going. The market price has plummeted, as we said, in Colorado. The average price for a pound of high-potency cannabis at the wholesale level declined nearly 58 cents, or 58% in the last 4 to 5 years, and that's a tremendous decline in price of something. Likewise, in Washington State, since 2014, it's been estimated that the price is falling 2% a month. We also know that in Oregon, they have just a glut of marijuana that can't even be sold because there's so much marijuana now, overproduction of the product, and then it becomes diverted illegally to other states. So there's a lot of problem around this. And the reason that I bring this up is that it's something that we should keep in the back of our minds as the process of marijuana flows through the United States and certainly into Ohio. I suspect, though I do not know with any certainty, but only a suspicion, that in 2020 there will be another ballot initiative to clearly legalize marijuana in the state of Ohio. And based on our conversation prior to this, if that ballot initiative gets there and but still gets defeated, there's a good possibility that the legislature will do something. They did that with medical marijuana back in 2016, so it's very possible. And we as prevention specialists and people that are concerned about the public health in the state of Ohio need to be aware of what we need to do to face the inevitability, in my mind, of this coming. And one of the things that they talk about doing is to have this be controlled by the state, much like alcohol is, so that their minimum prices are set and maintained, and no one can undercut and sell to a great deal of money to promote the oversales of these products. The other thing that's a good environmental strategy to look at, instead of taxing the sale of the product of cannabis and marijuana, would be to put a tax that stays stable based upon the THC level. So we know that the higher that the THC levels get, the more problematic that can become to the public. And so this is another way of doing it. Just want to give a reality check to everybody about what's happening with marijuana, and that we still have a really important hand in this, no matter how it goes at this juncture, whether we stay as just a medical marijuana state or we end up as a full legalization state, that we as prevention specialists have really thought through the types of things that we can do to make sure that we eliminate some of the potential problems around the sale of this product in our communities. The medical marijuana control program here in the state of Ohio is certainly moving forward. On Thursday, December 13th, the next Medical Marijuana Advisory Committee will be meeting. It meets at 10 o'clock at the Rife Tower in downtown Columbus, Ohio, which is 77 South High Street on the 31st floor. It's an open meeting and everyone's invited to attend. However, not everyone is allowed to participate. Only those that sit on the advisory committee are allowed in the conversation, but certainly other people, and the room is usually quite filled with individuals who are interested in what's going on. So if you really want to get the most up-to-date information about what's happening, that's a nice way to get in there and do it. But we will keep you here at Prevention Action Alliance. We will certainly keep you updated as to what happens in those meetings. We know that the marijuana dispensaries will be opening very, very soon. I just read this morning that there's one in Wintersville, Ohio, that will be opening any day now, and that's going to be the first one that actually is opened out of the 56 in the state of Ohio. It's about 240 miles northeast of Cincinnati, so those who are really interested in getting their marijuana may have to drive a little bit to get it, but it will be open soon, and I'm sure others will follow suit as the product becomes available. Also, just to keep in mind that the system in the marijuana control program for qualifying conditions is still open. So from now until the end of the month, they are looking for people who would be interested in expanding the list of conditions from the initial 21 list to more. That this is the time period for that. So just be aware that that process is happening now, and after the first of the year, I will be interested to see what they have ordained as the next disease or condition that they feel is treatable by cannabis and marijuana. The Cannabis American Marijuana Control Program patient registry is now open, and it has been open, I believe, for just 1 week now. And in that time frame, in just that first week, there's nearly 2,000 recommendations in the patient and caregiver registry. Of those recommendations, a little over 1,000 have been activated, and they have received their registry cards. So the process is moving forward now. They'll be just opening dispensaries. There'll be patients that are willing and able and ready to purchase their product, and we continue having each month more and more physicians signed up to be to get a certificate to recommend, or a CTR. And so it's moving forward, and there's many regrets here, but one is that I wish we had the opportunity to get a baseline of what the environment looked like and what was the use of youth a little bit more focused on what's happening with that, because as this changes, we will be needing to measure what the problems are brought on by this. There was just something that was brought out by SAMHSA last week. It was a survey that showed that the states that have legal and full legalization, their youth were much more likely to use than the states that had nothing. And it was quite dramatic. It was quite a dramatic chart. So again, as prevention specialists, these are things that we need to follow, to watch, and be prepared to deal with as this new world rolls out. The final thing that I just want to mention is that it's going to be a very busy 6 months coming up as the 133rd General Assembly kicks off and a new administration kicks off. There'll be a lot of changes. At this point, we don't know exactly what those changes will mean. All cabinet directors at this point were asked to submit their resumes, which I know Dr. Hurst has, and Dr. Hurst has been interviewed, but no idea what will happen and how that will all come together once the governor-elect takes office. But again, we'll keep you advised of anything that we hear the moment that we hear it. But we are also in a very unique time, and with the joining of JP on our staff, and we're very thankful to have him, and with our continued help from Nathan, we are looking to see what we can do in this unique time where people understand the need for prevention. They really don't understand prevention completely, but we have that opportunity to educate and to advocate. And that will be one of our biggest positions that we need to do as this new General Assembly and new administration rolls out. So we are putting together, we have a team here in the office that works on it weekly, and we're pulling together what we need to do that education and how we need to position what our hopes are as we move forward. I invite you to send me or JP an email talking about what you would like to see as the new administration and the new General Assembly gets started, and what would be helpful to you and to the people of Ohio in the world of prevention as we move forward. Your voices are strong, they mean something, and we may be looking to call upon you to help us at times to do testimony if we need that. But those of you who are interested in doing that, we invite you to come alongside us, give us your ideas, and let us know of your willingness at any time that you would like to add your voice to what's happening in the legislature.
Well, thank you, Marcie, for that very insightful presentation. So at this time, we will open it up for questions. And while we're waiting for questions to roll in, Marcie, given that we are about to enter a new General Assembly, and then you have a few new representatives and senators, and obviously new administration, would you like to just remind people about good ways to contact their legislators?
Yeah, we actually do encourage you to do that as they start coming in there, especially those that have been newly elected. It's really good for you to have an opportunity to contact your legislature or legislators in their offices. You can email them, you can write them letters, you can call them, you can make appointments with them. Get in there and let them know who you are and what you represent and what you believe, and how, most of all, how you can be helpful to them. They do not have the ability to know everything about every topic that comes before them, and so you will be served. We all will become resources for them. So I encourage you to get out there early and become a resource for your new elected official.
All right, thank you very much, Marcie. And it doesn't seem like we have any additional questions. So at this time, we will bring this webinar to a close. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.